Well, hey, welcome to the Caffeinated Classroom and another teacher tip happy hour where I give you quick and actionable tips you can use right now in your classroom and beyond. Today, you guys, we are going to talk about one of my very favorite things in the whole entire world, reading. I am going to show you guys my spring to be read stack for the year 2020. I am so excited. I think every human being, especially every teacher, should have a stack of books or magazine articles or blog things that you are going to read or listen to or consume to enrich your life, or for whatever reason that you consume media. I bet by the end of this video, you're gonna have at least one or two of these in your Amazon cart, so don't worry, everything's gonna be linked down below. Let's get started. Cheers. My candle's on half my stack, so I gotta do some rearranging of my decor here. Hold on just a moment. So this is the first time that I am actually sharing my reading in a way that's like really formal. I share all the time on Instagram, just kind of like what I'm reading. Most of it is YA because I'm reading things that I'm looking to incorporate in my classroom or to recommend to students, or that a student has recommended to me, and because I just like really like YA reads. Some of the things in my stack are YA, some of them are not, but we are going to jump into this in no particular order because quite frankly, there are a few things in the world that get me excited, like books. So I'm just excited to show you what's coming this spring and what you can prepare to see on an Instagram feed near you. In no particular order. The first book that I'm going to share with you today is called A Heart in a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. And I have heard such amazing things about this book, not just from like the online, I get a lot of book recommendations from like Instagram and just people that I follow or just things that come up because the algorithm has figured me out. But also a couple of my friends at work have read this and have been raving about it for almost a year. And I'm like, okay, I need to just jump on this train already. So I'm really excited. I've heard that it is a tearjerker. I've heard that you will champion, the reader will champion the main character, be outraged for her and be there with her. And so I can't wait for that kind of a novel. I have been reading a long series of YA novels. I've been reading the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and it's so good, but like I'm finally in the last book and I'm ready to move on to some different sorts of stories outside of fantasy. Well, hold that thought because one of the next books I'm going to show you is fantasy, but I'm excited to read this one. I think I'll get a lot out of it. I think I will have it as a recommendation for some students with a sincere disclaimer because of some of the content that I have been told is in here. It's just a little bit adult in nature. Okay, next is a book that I kind of can't stop talking about. The first book, and this is the sequel. This is One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus. So this is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, which I read over a year ago, and I have had this since December of 2019, and I still haven't cracked it open to read it yet. Why? Well, said series that I was addicted to for a while, and I just had to see it through, and I just wasn't ready for like death and murder in a non-fantasy setting. This isn't like a real high school, even though it's definitely YA and it's definitely addicting in its own right, but I'm really excited about this one. I hear it lives up to all the like hubbub about it, so I'm excited about that. Next, I told you I was over fantasy, but I'm not. So I started the Red Queen series last summer, and this is the last book. It's called Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard, and it is the last in the Red Queen series, and I stinking love the Red Queen series. So much, in fact, that Red Queen, the first book, is one of the choices in one of my choice novel units for my sophomores. We look at some different dystopias and they eat this alive. Look at this stinker. I started it and I don't know what happened. I let it go and I need to get back to it because it's not that I stopped liking it. I just like lost steam and then need to pick it back up. So one of my goals is to finish this sucker. We're gonna move into nonfiction for a few books, and then I have one that doesn't really fit the whole YA and even adult thing, but I'll tell you about it at the end. The next book I'm going to show you is called Joyful by Ingrid Fettel Lee. And the first time that I saw Joyful was on the feed. A friend of mine, Ashley Bible from Building Book Love, she was talking about this book. It's called Joyful, The Surprising Power of Ordinary Things to Create Extraordinary Happiness. And Ashley is just one of those people. If you don't already follow her, you should. She's a phenomenal educator. She's an amazing curriculum designer. And she's just like a happy person. Like she's just fun to follow because she finds joy in the small things in life, and she reminds you why those things are so fun. And so she was talking about this book and how it helped her gain some perspective, and I was like, well, if it can help her gain some perspective, then it can help me gain a whole lot of perspective. And I've heard some really good things about it from some other friends of mine, so I'm excited to read through this one. And I mean, it looks like it has confetti and sprinkles on the front. Like, can you go wrong with confetti and sprinkles on the front of a book? I say no. We have a special visitor for this next book. This next book is actually a reread. It is called Masterminds and Wingmen, Helping Our Boys Cope with Schoolyard, Power, Locker Room Tests, Girlfriends, and the New Rules of Boy World. And it's by the author of Queen Bees and Wannabes, if you remember that. That was out like, oh gosh, a long time ago, by Rosalind Wiseman. And I've actually read it before. When I first had her older brother, my son, who is now 6.5 years old, I read this just because I was like really pumped, and I was like, okay, I don't know a whole lot about boys, so let's read something about boys. It was a little ahead of my time because he was an infant, and this is about boys at school. But he's a first grader now, and I am finding that there's some interesting dynamics going on, and there's some changes in the way that he's interacting with other people. And so that, from like a mother perspective, I want to take another look through this one. And I also, just luck of the draw, I have some really boy heavy classes in my classroom. Like, the mix of students is very male swayed. And so, being a girl and the oldest of sisters, I decided that it's probably a good idea just for me to brush up and kind of get my mind back around some of these things. Another nonfiction that I'm going to be looking at this spring is actually a book that my husband got for me for Christmas. It's called How to Read Novels Like a Professor, and it is by Thomas C. Foster, and he's the author of How to Read Literature Like a Professor, which was actually recommended to me by a colleague of mine. No, thank you. Which was actually recommended to me by a colleague of mine who is our AP Lit teacher, and she just like knows so many things about literature and teaching lit and teaching about literary theory. And since I have focused so much of my class and my curriculum on novels and choice novels and teaching reading and reading strategies and really developing reading, she wants to blow out the candle so bad. Don't touch the candle. I love it. This was on my Christmas list, and he got it for me, and I think it's going to just kind of help me refresh some of the tactics that I'm using. Some of the ways that I'm talking about novels and lit analysis are just feeling a little stale, and so I think that this will professionally just kind of give me a little refresh. Plus, I nerd out about this stuff. So like, these are the things that I really enjoy. I like reading books, and I like reading books about reading books. So there's no saving me from myself. That's what I'm saying. And I know so many of you out there are just like me. So this might be something you want to look at. There's also actually how to read the book that they talk about on the front here, the bestseller, How to Read Literature Like a Professor. There's How to Read Literature Like a Professor for Kids, where it like boils down a lot of the tropes and the different ideas that he talks about in his book. It's by the same author, but it's really good and very accessible. So if you want students to be able to read something like that, it's a really good resource. Okay, we have one more book. You want to help mommy share this book? So, in our house, we have started this year, well, at the end of 2019 and into 2020, we have started doing read alouds with chapter books. We started the year with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We are almost done with The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe from the Chronicles of Narnia, and we are going to move back into the Roald Dahl canon with James and the Giant Peach. So every night before we go to bed, part of our bedtime routine is I sit down with the kids and we read a chapter or two, and sometimes her brother will help me read parts of the chapter, and she sits and listens, and it's really good for all of these different skills, but it's also a really great way to just bond and have that together time that's nice and quiet and screen free with the kids, and we just chip away. You know, it helps us all remember that these great rewarding things, like the end of an amazing story, will come by just chipping away a chapter at a time. On a Saturday night, we might get crazy and read 2 chapters.
There's what pictures?
There's a lot of pictures. She does like a lot of pictures. yeah, so it's one of our favorite things, and so that is going to be our first book of the spring. I am sure we will be doing more than just James and the Giant Peach, but I will keep you guys updated here and on Instagram, so if you're not following me, please.
I'm gonna get the other ones.
You're gonna get the other ones? Okay. While she's getting the other ones, I'm gonna do a quick sign off. If you're not already following me on Instagram, please do so. I will keep you updated on how the spring TBR stack is going. Oh, she got the whole collection. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already done so. Click the little bell so you get an alert every time that I upload on this channel. In the comments down below, tell me which book here is the most interesting to you. And don't forget, I am going to put in the description box down below links to every single one of these books so you can go and check them out on Amazon right now if you would like to. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.